It all began on a quiet afternoon in a small-town diner. The air smelled of fresh coffee, sizzling bacon, and warm apple pie. At a corner booth by the window sat a teenage girl named Emily. She was 16, with bright blue eyes and a sweet smile, but her body was fragile. Emily had been born with cerebral palsy, which made walking difficult and speaking slower than other kids her age. Despite her struggles, she radiated kindness and never let her disability dim her spirit. That day, Emily had come to the diner alone, something she rarely did. She had saved up her allowance for a week just to enjoy her favorite meal, pancakes with extra syrup. She carried her sketchbook with her, where she often drew pictures of places she dreamed of visiting one day. For Emily, every little outing was a victory, a moment of independence. But then it happened. The bell above the door jingled, and 3 boys from her high school strolled in. They were loud, arrogant, and always searching for someone to pick on. Their eyes landed on Emily, and cruel smirks spread across their faces. They had tormented her at school before, whispering insults and mocking her walk. Now, seeing her alone in the diner, they sensed an easy target. They approached her booth. "Hey, look who's here," one of them sneered. "Little cripple girl out for a fancy lunch." Emily's hands trembled on her sketchbook. She tried to ignore them, keeping her eyes on her pancakes. But one of the boys yanked her sketchbook away and flipped through the pages, mocking her drawings. "What's this supposed to be? You, walking straight for once," he laughed, while the others roared. The diner grew quiet. A few customers glanced over but quickly looked away, afraid to get involved. The waitress hesitated near the counter, torn between stepping in and keeping her job safe. Then it escalated. One of the boys leaned down and slapped Emily across the cheek. The sound echoed through the diner, sharp and cruel. Emily gasped, tears welling in her eyes. She didn't fight back. She couldn't. The boys laughed and walked away, tossing her sketchbook on the floor like trash. And in that moment, Emily's heart sank. She felt invisible, worthless. She wondered if kindness even mattered anymore in a world where people looked away. But the story didn't end there. An hour later, as the sun dipped lower in the sky, the bell above the diner door rang again. This time it wasn't careless teenagers who walked in. It was a group of bikers. Leather jackets, heavy boots, tattoos that told stories of hard lives lived. Their engines had thundered outside moments before, shaking the glass windows of the diner. There were 6 of them, tall and broad, each with a presence that made people shift uneasily in their seats. Emily shrank back at first. She had heard stories of bikers, troublemakers, lawless men, rough and angry. But what she didn't know was that this particular group was different. They called themselves the Iron Guardians, and behind the leather and steel, they had a code: protect the vulnerable, stand against cruelty, and live by respect. As the bikers entered, their leader, a bearded man named Jack, noticed Emily sitting alone with her sketchbook. Her face was red, her eyes puffy from crying. Something about her expression stopped him cold. He walked over and knelt by her booth. "Hey, sweetheart," he said gently, his voice a low rumble. "Someone hurt you?" Emily hesitated, her lips trembling. She wanted to say no, to stay invisible, but something in Jack's eyes told her she could trust him. So, she nodded. Jack's jaw tightened. He glanced around the diner, and it didn't take long to figure out who was responsible. The 3 boys were still there, laughing loudly in a booth across the room. Jack stood, towering like a storm cloud, and motioned to his brothers. The other bikers followed his gaze, their expressions hardening. They walked toward the boys' booth, and the diner fell silent. One of the boys tried to act tough. "What's your problem, old man?" he scoffed. Jack leaned in close, his voice quiet but dangerous. "You don't ever lay a hand on a girl, especially not someone who can't fight back. You got that?" The boy swallowed hard, his bravado shrinking. But his friend muttered, "She's just a cripple." Before he could finish, one of the bikers slammed his fist on the table, rattling glasses and plates. "Say that again, kid. I dare you." The boys' faces drained of color. They stammered excuses, suddenly desperate to leave. Within seconds, they scrambled out of the diner, their laughter gone, replaced by fear. Jack and his crew returned to Emily's booth. He picked up her sketchbook from the floor, dusted it off, and handed it to her. "You keep drawing, sweetheart," he said. "Don't ever let people like that tell you who you are." For the first time that day, Emily smiled. The bikers sat with her, ordering meals and sharing stories. They asked about her drawings, and she shyly showed them. Jack studied her sketch of a motorcycle with wide eyes. "That's beautiful," he said. "You ever want to ride one of these?" Emily laughed nervously. I can't." Jack shook his head. "Don't say can't. Say not yet." Before they left, Jack handed her a small patch with the Iron Guardian's emblem. "Your family now. If anyone ever bothers you again, you tell him you've got guardians watching your back." That night, Emily went home with her sketchbook full of new dreams and a heart full of hope. She had seen something incredible, that even in the darkest moments, kindness can show up in the unlikeliest forms. And those bikers, they didn't just scare away bullies. They restored her faith that good people still exist in this world. Sometimes the world feels cruel, and it's easy to lose hope when others stand by silently. But there are always people willing to protect, to stand up, and to show love when it matters most. Emily's story reminds us that kindness can come from anywhere, even from those society often judges harshly. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments what you would have done if you were in that diner. Would you have spoken up? And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Be kind always, for more powerful stories that remind us of the goodness we all carry inside. Together, let's spread compassion, stand against cruelty, and keep kindness alive.